this is from someone who interviewed in Essex Live, a guy called Steve, who did not be, he was called Local Steve, but they capitalized local and Steve.
Local Steve. Oh, yeah, no, I know that guy. Yeah, Local Steve.
Local Steve, who attended the protest last night, said, quote, I've come here to have a protest against the people in these hotels. They come down to Essex and they think they can do things to our children. We're not having it. We're not having it at all. We're not far-right people. We're not racist people. We're just concerned with our children being able to walk to school in the morning and then walk home.
I want to see that motherfucker's tattoos.
Yeah. Local Steve, why don't you pop your shirt off?
We're not having it.
Yeah. So basically, this is Local Steve. I think that's pretty representative, which is we're not racist. We just think that all the people in this hotel who are a different race to us are a threat to our children and make them unable to walk to and from school.
But crucially, all the things that are threats to their children that are sort of like white British coded, those are like traditional values, you know?
Yeah, of course.
No friction between the idea that sort of like migrants, refugees, asylum seekers are kind of like this huge danger to children, but also you should be able to hit your children again.
Yeah. It does feel like we're kind of losing some kind of like information war here, where like what has essentially happened here is like there's been some alleged offense committed by an asylum seeker and he has been promptly arrested and charged by the police, which is exactly what should happen.
That
So,
classic
like,
one-tier justice.
Yeah. So it's like what, like in terms of the facts of the case, it's like what is the complaint? It's like what, like the criminal justice system has functioned. Like there's none of this like, oh, they're getting away with it, or like it's like. And so it's sort of how have we gotten to this place where like this is seen by so many people as a crisis?
Well, I can tell you how, and how is going on every single breakfast show. It's going on Question Time on Newsnight. Is Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage constantly has been saying for years and years, not just him, but people like him have been saying the fact of asylum seekers being here is in itself dangerous, right? There isn't some magical breakdown of community cohesion that's happening because of the phones or because of like a sort of spontaneous loss of trust in institutions. Like there's a report that was commissioned by fucking Sajid Javid and John Cruddas, who basically, the social fabric of Britain is in danger of falling apart because all of these things are happening and they desperately need to be addressed.
Like these are the motherfuckers who started ripping us in the first place.
Well, yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
What, the Saj? No, come on.
The very Saj.
The Saj is like Atlas. He holds Britain on his back.
Yeah.
I think that the point about this being like very much like in the works for a long time is very true. Like the sort of talks about like civil war and Britain on the edge and everything has kind of been happening ever since like, well, it's been happening before the Southport riots, but like once they happened, it was very much like you had like right-wing commentators on there just sort of being like, oh, this is just kind of the beginning. We're going to see more of this coming up, which is not like an inaccurate point, but I feel like whenever I listen to like fucking Matt Goodwin talk about this, I'm just like, you may as well just smile about it. Like,
yeah, for real.
Like, you know, it's very hard to sort of contain your glee for like this. And, you know, I want to be very clear here, not in the sense of like not to sort of like kind of say that, oh, he wants this for like purely political reasons, but anyone who sort of followed Matthew Goodwin's like career over the past couple of decades will kind of realize.
Unfortunately, we have.
Yeah. Has he been dispatched urgently to the asylum seeker protest to eat a Quran?
Yeah.
Well, they've got fucking hell. I feel like that probably is like the inevitable state. He is gonna like eat a Quran to try and like own everyone, and it will unite the country in just being like, what the fuck is that guy doing?
Yeah, you're meant to be like triggered, but it's so baffling. Yeah, but there's like a million of these guys, right? Who like always have these kind of like dire warnings that you have to read basically as kind of masturbatory.
Well, and this is it. So like part of it is also just like you've got enough people jacking off to the idea of a race war, but I feel like there's also this element of like because you have an Omni Crisis and because the people who are really baiting for a race war are kind of the ones who have caused it. Like think about like why the hotels thing has sort of become like such an issue in the first place. In part because like no one built any infrastructure to recognize like the influx of like refugees coming in across Europe on like a much bigger scale, and largely in part due to geopolitical situations. This is once again like a situation where like lots of countries, including Britain, had like opportunities to prepare. Some European countries did, but like Britain would just like, we'll just sort of like, you know, just see what happens, right? And then as a result, it's like, well, you don't really have anywhere to like house these people because you have a housing crisis and you have like a shelter crisis, you know, and so this is like what was supposed to be like a short-term solution is like one that became kind of the prominent solution under the conservative government, who just didn't want to build anything or didn't want to sort of like do anything that wasn't half-assed and kind of causing human rights crises in the process, right? And so you kind of got the long tail of that, and you've got like, you know, the various bits of like trying to sort of create the idea of public infrastructure using like a very loose string of like private hotels who, you know, for them it's just like, well, fine, you know, for like some of them are making business decisions, others are just like, well, okay, fine, like we'll just do what we're sort of asked to do.
You look at these hotels and like these are not like sort of beloved community institutions, right?
There's a lot of like these 4-star hotels, and like there's like one which I think is housing refugees like nearish where I live, and it's sort of classified as a 4-star hotel. But if you look at it, it's very much like, yeah, this is what happens if your wife kind of kicks you out of the house and you only have like cash in your pockets. Like this is the place you go to, right? It is very far removed from it's not even like the 3-star hotel of like, you know, a nice European vacation. These are like fucking shitholes, right?
Far right guys turning up to protest at the hotel going like, hang on a minute, I've stayed there.
There's something very specific about this as well, where it's like you will look at like sort of Nigel Farage or whoever it is being like these sort of like dangerous migrants are being housed in like complete luxury by, you know, your taxes, and then you see like footage of the hotel in question and you're like, this looks like the biggest shithole in the world.
Yeah, like the one in Canary Wharf where they were like really trying to ham it up, just like, yeah, this is the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. It's like one of the most expensive places. And like someone like saw some videos of it being inside, and the amount of comments that were just like, yeah, it's a bit drab, isn't it? It's like a bit, you know.
What is ironic about this is these are the kind of hotels that Nigel Farage stays in, because I've watched the man's TikToks and he's always in a shite hotel. So in a way, actually, maybe he's got a point.
Yeah, like look, how much of our taxes are going into little packets of Nescafe and those little like things of milk
sachets.
That's such a like a particularly British thing about this too, is to prop up a small business that exists largely out of spite, and it's such a sort of like marriage made in heaven for the like small British hotel industry to be warehousing migrants like this, because it's like this is how they wish they could treat everyone.
And this is also like another economic crisis in the sense of like, well, one thing that's really gone down quite a lot, and there is no sort of government support or intervention for, at least hasn't been since COVID, and I don't even know if like hotels kind of got this help during COVID, but loads of like local hotels just like have not had any people in it for like a really, really long time, right? And so like you find like, who's fucking staying in like the Holiday Inn or wherever they were staying, like in Epping? I don't know. I don't imagine it to sort of be a particularly populous environment. But the point sort of being that like you've got this narrative that's sort of been built of like an influx or an invasion, right? And that's sort of supported by like this government and the last government's like really bad strategy on how to deal with people coming in seeking asylum.
No safe or legal routes. Yeah.
Right. And sort of so as a result, sending lots of people in one go to like specific areas, confining them to hotel rooms where they can't do any work except for like doing fucking delivery or whatever. And even then it's like, it's very difficult for like, you know, they have to pay a lot of money just to be able to work, right? In like the shadow economy. And so like, and then confining them to these very, very tiny rooms, of which like we have all stayed in one way or another in like a professional capacity. And like, it doesn't take very long for anyone who's sort of done like a sort of working away trip in England. If you have a job in England and you're sort of sent to like a small town to do work, you know how horrible your living situation is going to be as a result of that, right? Lots of people have gone through that experience. Imagine doing that for like an indefinite period of time where you also know that,
what is it, like £4 a day or something?
Right.
Like?
And you know, and then also just having like people yell at you outside all the time, right? It's not like it's not a particularly pleasant experience, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And taking it back round, right? Like this contention by Cruddas and the Sag. You know, they're
Sag and Crud, of course.
Yeah, Sag and Crud.
You're listening to Cruddas and the Sag.
well, indeed.
Yeah.
And, you know, their report that says, okay, well, this is happening. The race riots are happening because there's no community cohesion. People don't trust people who don't look like them.
I wonder how that happened. Do you think it was like ripping the arse out of every public service in this country over the course of about 20 years?
Yeah, indeed, right? It's that this all just sort of happened because of things like spontaneous loss of trust in institutions. No one seems to like the government anymore. No one seems to trust the BBC. I guess it happened magically, possibly because of Facebook.
It's the same with Labour, like chasing reform voters of like, well, the public just generates its own opinions and we as responsible politicians have no choice but to just follow them, I guess.